Muted over here, I'm pretty sure. Hello,
You know
everyone,
what?
and welcome back to DroneNation for May 10th, 2021. And we call this show The Return of Lauren. Yes, Lauren Donauer, our favorite, drone guy from Calgary, Canada, was back with us from the frozen north, but I guess it's not frozen anymore. It's probably the sunny and warm spring Calgary right, this now. But anyhow, we got some topics to talk about tonight. We want to, since we did the last show, the little Hubsan Mini Pro, Zino Mini Pro, I can never get that name right, is now for pre-sale on several sites, and we'll get into those sites as the show rolls along.
Hey, Ron, can I stop you for a second?
Go right ahead, Marcus.
Well, I see Johnny Drone Flyer in the chat, and I heard that he pre-ordered about 3 of them.
Okay, one for each of us, huh?
Yeah.
And you hit all the sites up, maybe see which one gets here first. So we'll get into that. And of course, the Fimi Mini, a lot more people have received it this week, and especially a lot more people in the U.S. have received it and did first test flights, including our friend Ryan Duvall over at RD Drone Reviews. And we want to cover more of the Autel EVO 2 price drop, which continues on. It's a lot of speculation why on the internet. And, we got some other stuff that the Air, the Air 2S firmware update. Is it a firmware update? We'll get to that. But let me throw it to my partner Marcus, and he's got some stuff to go over with you. Then we'll bring in Laura from the green room. He's back there enjoying the shrimp right now.
Yeah, Ron, not a lot going on. I really wanted to get out and fly today, but we had some wind and rain in the afternoon, and that didn't work out. I did get the arm glued back on this little guy, and I'll tell you, using epoxy, I think that I bet you it's stronger now than it was even. It looks like Frankenstein, but it's on there and it's straight. So that's the main thing. If only I could get a ribbon cable, I'd have this guy back in action. And then the other thing that I did, Ron, and I've discussed it with you a little bit, is I picked up a Google Pixel 3. Now I'm still, don't panic. I'm still an Apple guy, but this was on sale on Woot for $99, and I want to use it honestly just for testing drones, just mainly for an extra one for drones, etc. And I think because I believe my logic was because it came from Google, it'll have an original form of Android on it, so that should be interesting. But then, of course, that's another little bit of a learning curve. The other thing I did, Ron, since we last talked, and you've seen this box before, I should have had it open already.
Oh boy, you got a new drone come on the channel, huh?
Well, it's the return of an old drone. Ron and I discussed this a lot, but a
beloved favorite there, Marcus.
Yeah, it is, and the one I had I sold, and I just ended up regretting it, and so this guy came up on sale. Thank you, Johnny. Quite frankly, thank you, Johnny Drone Flyer. He sent me a message, and it was $299 on Woot. We talk about these other mini drones, that are $400, $500, $600. For $300, this is 4K 30 HDR, lossless zoom, all the tricks,
waypoints, all the bells and whistles you get on high-end DJI drone.
Yeah. So anyway, that I'm really happy to have this guy back again.
And Johnny's a big fan of the Anafi also.
Yeah, we have a lot of people in here. I see Stephen Ewing is in the chat. I know he's a fan of it. There's a lot of folks that like that drone, and like I said, it was a mistake for me to sell the one that I had before, and I'm glad to have it back. So that'll just kind of be a permanent part of the fleet, so to speak. Cool. And then I guess that's about all the news that's fit to print on my end, Ron.
Oh, well, let me get one little quick note, and then we'll bring Lauren in. I got a guest lined up for next week, Marcus. Big name guest coming on the show next week.
That's got to be Al Duran. Who else?
It's Al Duran from Duranify.
Yeah.
And Al's one of the people I talked about in the U.S. who's received his Fimi Mini, He did a very successful test flight on it where he demonstrated a lot of the smart features of it, the tracking and a couple things like that. The test went very well, for him. I was impressed.
I need him to Duranify mine if we ever can get a ribbon cable. That's
oh yeah. Al can take these things apart like nobody's business.
Yes, he can. Yes, he can.
Alrighty, well, I think Lauren's finishing up the shrimp back there in the green room. So, with no further ado, we will bring in our favorite person from Calgary, Canada, warm, sunny, spring-filled Calgary, Canada. There he is. Lauren, how are you tonight?
Your favorite person from Calgary, Canada. I'm probably the only person you know from Calgary, Canada.
You're not supposed to say anything.
Yeah, I'm doing good, but I kind of like Marcus. Around here, the weather's not being the best cooperator at the moment, and plus I'm going to be starting some home renovations next week, so getting ready for that. And
now I see you've added a quite a lens to your lenses for your ground-based cameras.
Yeah.
One with a lot of reach.
Oh yeah, pretty fair. Like I say. I like doing either landscape or wildlife. So with wildlife, pretty big lens. That one that you've seen, it's a 150 to 600, and then I've got a 1.4 for it as well, which takes it up to about 840. So
wow,
yeah.
But you may not need that because I hear they call you the deer whisperer.
Yeah. I have a tendency to have deer walk right up to me, so
you could just shoot them with your 50 prime lens.
Well, actually, it was funny because I had the camera with the big lens on and out walking around, and then I got the deer. They're walking up to me, and that 150 to 600, like it was just way too big, and I couldn't even shoot a picture because the deer were just too close. So I ended up using my cell phone to shoot some pictures, and I shot some video there, and some of it was actually live. Just because like most people say, oh yeah, it's they look close because it's your big lens. Well, yeah.
Don't tell them it's your phone.
Yeah. Hey, I got a question to ask you guys. I think we've talked about it before, but have you guys ever tried out Litchi, or have you heard of it?
I have heard of it. I never have. I believe.
Did you see the Litchi app?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Lauren, I'm glad you got the show back to drones, so we don't lose too many people. But yes, I've used the Litchi app. A good friend of Mark's, Sean Matthews, used the Litchi app on his Phantom 3s and so on, and I used the Litchi app on the Phantom 4, the Mavic Pro 1. And I think it was some of the DJI drone, but what I got it for is the Waypoint feature. It had waypoints before DJI implemented waypoints on any of the consumer drones, and even though DJI has put waypoints on their so at least the Mavic 2 series is not in the same category with what Litchi offers, but also the other bonus feature of Litchi is it offers, if you want to fly what do you call it, FPV, but you don't want to pay the $400 for the DJI goggles, you could just put your phone in a pair of, what do you call it, VR, cheap VR goggles.
Yeah,
you can fly with that kind of experience too. And you could fly with that with almost any of the drones that it was compatible with.
Yeah. Well, part of the reason that I mentioned it, because like I like using that app quite a bit, and one of the key things that I like about it is the fact that you have audible callouts. So without even looking at your screen, depending on how you've got it set up, you've got your speed, your distance, your altitude, your battery, all of that stuff is being repeated out to you at whatever rate you set it at.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really
a nice safety feature. Yeah.
And it's like you say, the doing the waypoints. Yeah, the DJI Waypoints doesn't even come close. Like and also why I like it is I can build a mission at home on my computer,
yeah,
and then go out and fly it out in the field.
That's the beauty. I love designing the missions on my big screen computer rather than doing it on a phone in the field.
Yeah.
Hey, Lauren, you kind of brought up something, that it's way more comprehensive than what DJI offers. I've always wondered why DJI didn't get more serious about waypoints in their app. Do you have any insight into that?
Really, I think the biggest thing is to try and keep the app as slim as possible. When you start, like Litchi is its own app, but with DJI, you've got an app that's got to satisfy multiple drones and keep it as slim as possible.
And multiple phones, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And
both ends.
Litchi has been able to do that, but that's because that's what they do, right? They're software people, right? They don't build the drones, whereas DJI, they're more of a hardware company, and the software, as we quite often find, sometimes the software is an afterthought.
Right.
So next question, Lauren. I've always been concerned and been reticent to use Litchi because I worry about what it would do to the warranty on my DJI drone. Is that something I should be concerned about?
I've heard both ways. Some guys have, if they've had an incident, it hasn't been a problem, and then other guys have said that DJI has denied their claim because they weren't using a official DJI app. So
yeah.
I've heard both ways too. But here's the thing, Marcus. Mostly, Litchi is because they have to wait for DJI to put out what's the word, the software for them to use. Usually, by the time Litchi gets a new drone on their application, it's a year old anyways. So the base warranty is off your drone anyways. And maybe you did buy a care refresh or whatever. But I mean, I'll give you an example, Marcus. Our buddy Sean, back to Sean Matthews. Now I'm plugging Sean Matthews today. But when he used to fly the Phantom 3s forever, and when the DJI software would no longer work properly on his Phantom 3s, the Litchi app still worked fine with him. So
That's
he
right.
had to go exclusive to the Litchi app for his older Phantom 3s because they no longer work properly with the official DJI app.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, because basically it doesn't matter whether it's Pix 4D or Litchi or whatever. Those guys really can't do much until DJI releases the SDK for
SDK was what I was trying to come up with, right? And it took them almost a year to get the SDK out for the Mini 1, but when they did get it out, it added some things that the DJI app did not have. Like I think you could do what a raw photos then with the Litchi app. So you got some things that people wish were there. Now I still don't think Litchi supports the Mini 2 yet, and I don't think it supports either the Air 2s yet. So see, they again, by the time they usually get their SDKs and get it working, your 1 year warranty is going anyways.
Yeah.
So, and one other thing about the waypoints before we move on, what I like too, Lauren, is Litchis, they have a sharing program. So say you go to a popular location, like when I went to see Bill the Drone Review in Florida a couple years ago, I got there and there were 2 waypoint missions at popular locations that were available for me to go and download in my drone and fly a predetermined waypoint mission that somebody else designed.
Yeah. Basically, if I wanted, I could build a Litchi mission for Marcus to fly the canyon there, and if he's got a cell signal out there, he could actually download the mission out there and fly a mission that I've flown or that I've designed. And
that's interesting.
Yeah,
because Lauren, where I could see that valuable is if you saw something that you wanted to get a good shot of, you wouldn't have to try and explain to me what it was you needed. You could just upload that mission to me. I could send the drone out and fly it and get exactly what you wanted.
Well, not only that, but what's kind of cool is there's another kind of companion app. It's called Virtual Litchi. And between that, you use Litchi, and then you save the flight, and then you load it into Virtual Litchi, and then you can actually fly that mission in Google Earth. And See, like for some of the stuff that I do, I use Google Earth for elevations, but you can use Google Earth and then Litchi to make sure, like if you want to stay, say, exactly 100 feet above the ground, right? But your terrain may not be level over that distance. Like it might go up, say, 50 feet, for example, right? Well, you can import the terrain levels from Google Earth, and it will adjust your altitude so that you remain 100 feet above ground level, 100 feet AGL, right?
Very cool.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, that's
Margaret, I think a good point. Since you have all newer hardware, you probably don't have any drones that would operate on the Litchi.
I still have the original Mini, Ron.
Okay, well that's good. But I think the last time I looked at it, the Mini 1 did not have the Waypoint feature yet.
Yeah.
It had some other features, but now somebody correct me in the chat if it's been updated for Waypoints. But as of a few months ago, it did not support the Waypoints yet for the Mini 1.
Yeah. Recovery Drone is making a comment, Ron. He says you can create a KML file which can be used in Drone Deploy, Pix4D, Litchi, and the DJI Waypoint app. That's
very interesting.
Yeah. Yep. Hey, the other thing I want. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lauren.
Here's my favorite drone for Litchi.
Is that your Mavic 2?
Yeah. And how do you
remove before flight?
For the gimbal cover.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, smart. That's real good. Now, Lauren, I have the Mavic Air, the Mavic 2 Pro also, but I cannot fly it with Litchi because guess what? I only own the smart controller. I don't own the standard controller.
Well, this is not the Mavic. This isn't my Mavic 2. This is an original Mavic.
Mavic. Okay, yeah. So I could when I have stuff, but I've passed my Mavic 1 on to some other fortunate soul to fly.
Yeah.
No, this one here is bought and paid for itself many times over. So I keep it in case I want to do something iffy, because then if I crash it.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, well.
Good point.
A lot of good jokes there, but hey, so a point that I want to make before we get too far off is, Ron, you had mentioned Care Refresh earlier. Unfortunately, on the Air 2S, your DJI Select 50% off coupon that has always worked in the past when you got a new drone for purchasing Care Refresh does not work on the Air 2S. How do I know? I found out the hard way. But it kind of makes me wonder. That was one of the biggest values of that DJI Select. So I guess I'm wondering if it's worth re-upping.
How much is the DJI Select, Marcus?
It's about $30, so it's not that much.
Yearly.
Annually, right. And they give you, what they do is they give you a bunch of coupons, and the best one is the 50% coupon on Care Refresh. And quite frankly, I've always been able to use it on something, whether I bought a drone or the Osmo Action or whatever. It's always been available to use, but did not work for the Air 2S.
Interesting. Hey, back to our Litchi thing just for a second. Mike Wright, TX Arts drone guy, says Litchi also works with the smart controller now.
Yes.
Thank you, Mike.
It has for just about 2 years now.
Well, people told me, but when I first asked about it, people told me it worked, but it did not work well.
Yeah.
So, Lauren, he would have to sideload that correct, right?
Yeah, kind of. Like the
Litchi APK or AT, what do they call it, the APK? Yeah.
Yeah, Litchi has a smart controller version just for it.
Oh, really?
It's like they've got an Android version and then they've got the smart controller version. And where I find guys are running into issues is if they just load the Android version in instead of the smart controller one. So.
Oh, so Ron, Mike Wright is making the point that you've probably already purchased Litchi for iOS. You would then have to purchase it again, because it's
He
Android.
makes a very good point there. They
Yeah.
charge you for both systems. Yes, he's
Actually,
exactly right.
I was going to bring that up, but
Yeah. Hey, Sam Burns, tell us how you really feel, buddy.
Sam probably got a look at that new Autel EVO smart controller with the whatever 2,000 nits and
yeah.
8-inch screen and
well, you'll like the new smart controller.
the one from Autel.
Whoops! You gotta be sharp when you're listening to Lauren.
Yeah, Lauren, but they got to stack up. Have you seen the features on the Autel smart controller, Lauren?
No, I haven't. No.
Oh, it's loaded.
Yeah.
It's loaded. So DJI's got to just like, well, we're going to segue right into this segment. DJI's got a lot to. They're going to be the old dog in town when that Hubsan Zino Mini 2 Pro arrives.
The war of the minis.
Lauren, have you got the chance to peruse the specs on the Zino Mini Pro?
To be honest, no, I haven't. No.
Well, I'll give you the short synopsis. It tops this in every category.
Really?
Spec wise,
every category.
The rest of it remains to be seen.
It makes this thing look like last year's model.
Yeah.
But we're going to segue into the fact that we've been talking about it for a week or two now, but now it's available for pre-sale. And Marcus has put his pre-sale in, and Marcus just last night, this morning, I put my order in. And
Ron.
We have both ordered from the mothership, Hubsan themselves, but you can order from Hubsan US also, and you can also go to our pals at Banggood, AliExpress, Geek Buying, all your favorite Chinese-based retailers also have it. But the funny thing is, Marcus, Hubsan and Hubsan US have it much cheaper than the third-party sellers.
Yeah, I think that probably tells a story. So here's what I'm just speculating, Ron. I don't know anything, but I suspect those third-party resellers are just hoping that they'll be able to get it someday, and so they're trying to build some interest on their websites. The specs are available, so they're posting them on there. They're posting pictures on there, and who knows if they've even spoken to Hubsan yet? For all we know. So I think if you're going to order it, I would not probably pre-order from one of the other resellers yet. I would likely either go to the Hubsan factory store or to Hubsan US, one or the other.
And what did we determine for the base price of just the drone controller and battery is what?
$459. $459. Yeah.
And then they have, unlike the Fimi Mini, who didn't offer any packages, this offers packages of multiple batteries, cases, and you can shoot. Lauren, listen to this stat. You know how the DJI drones have 8 gigabits of internal memory built in the recorder, Lauren? The Zino Mini Pro offers either 64 or 128 bits of internal memory.
Oh, I guess you can't see it.
Yeah, we're just seeing white, Lauren, but
yeah, I've got all the prices here for the Hubsan Mini.
Yeah,
as well as all the different combinations. That's actually not bad for price for a battery. Is only $30 US.
Right. Including a thermal version, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Which is different for Hubsan. But here, let me tell you, no matter how good that drone is, even if it does everything they say it is and all that, until Hubsan comes up with a reliable customer service network, they're just not going to be able to compete with DJI. I mean, just like what I found out with this guy, I've got a broken ribbon cable, and the drone might as well just be trashed because you can't get the part.
Good point, Marcus. Les Hubsan could somehow make an unbreakable, no service ever needed drone. This is good, but again, some people are willing to sacrifice that for price point, and of course, I know this is a little the same price as the the Mini 2, but of course, feature wise, it's probably got twice. It should be, if DJI made that drone with those specs, it'd be twice as much.
That's right. Yeah.
It has many of the features that the not the Air 2S, but just the regular Air 2 has in a 249 gram drone or less. And I don't know, did we see the exact weight? But there's going to be no battery flip flop here, whatever. It's going to ship with the correct battery that make it 249 grams or less.
Under 250 grams, yeah.
250. Not like the Mini, who ships with a battery that makes it like 258 grams. You have to wait to get the Pro battery somewhere down the road.
Hey, Ron. Go ahead.
Wouldn't that be a kick in the head if that was under 250 grams without a battery?
Well, you got to wonder, those sensors and stuff they're putting in there, they got to weigh something.
Exactly. That's kind of what I was thinking,
And Lauren, this thing has 40 minutes of flight time. That matches like the EVO 2 Pro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. What they didn't tell you is it only flies 4 meters per second.
Yeah.
No, I think I can't remember, they quoted it in there. Yeah, Ron, listen, I'm dying to know what configuration you ordered.
Well, we talked about this, and what I did, I kind of went a little bit different than you. Once we determined that it does have a memory card slot, I opted to only get the 64 gigabyte version and got the extra battery. So I think mine was a little less than yours, even though I got 3 batteries versus your 2, but I only have half the internal memory that you have. And again, I'm hedging my bets that it does have that SD card slot. So say if I would pop a 64 card in there, I would have 128 total.
Yeah.
I may regret that down the road, but I thought, let's go for that extra battery, because we know that we won't actually get 40 minutes in the air.
Yeah. Well, realistically, how many guys really fill up a 64 gig SD card?
Well, on one flight, yeah, I never do.
Even on multiple flights,
right? To your point, Lauren, when I went out with the Air 2S the other day, all I have is a 64 gig card in it, and I flew 3 batteries through it and videoed the whole time, much of it in 5.4K, and I didn't fill up a 64 gig card. So good point.
Next time, find out how much space you did use, because, like, to me, getting more than the 64 gig is just not worth it.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, here's where it would be worth it, Lauren. And Ron and I have talked about this. Say you're a backpacker and you're hiking up and camping for a couple of days, and you don't have a device to offload the files to. That's where it could be a handy thing to have. But beyond that, I totally agree with you.
And I agree with you to an extent, with the fact, unless you got some way to charge those batteries, you're still not going to use it, right?
You haven't been camping in a while, have you, Lauren? They've got solar cells that go on the back of your backpack now. I mean, yeah.
And I'll give you a second scenario, Lauren. Say you would go to a drone event in Florida, some kind of event that a guy like Captain Ray Kelly may host, but you decide to stay for the whole week while you're down there because it's so nice to go to Florida in March. So say you do have your laptop with you, and you are downloading some of your photos and videos to that laptop. But if you have that 128 card, you kind of can keep it all in there too as a backup, not reformat during the trip. So when you come home, you have 2 versions. You have the data you moved over to your laptop's hard drive, and also you have the data that's on the card. So you do come home with a backup in case one of them fails on you, Lauren.
Yeah, that's true.
Kind of like RAID. Yeah, a RAID drive setup where it makes 2 copies. Yeah.
So, anyways, you know, I don't know if anybody else. I think we got Mike in here from Fly Zone Drones. I think, and Sergio. I think Mike was interested in Hubsan. I know a lot of people are interested in that little Hubsan drone. So let us know if anybody else is order. I know Bill Thompson, Coast to Coast Drones, in here, and he wanted to wait until they had a firm release date. And Mark, as we kind of discussed this, there's no such thing as a firm release date from Hubsan or anything. We've heard the 15th of June.
15th of June, we've seen in a few different places, and so you know, but again, who really knows?
I don't think Sam Lee's ever going to give you that date.
Yeah, probably
Marcus.
not.
I mean, Lauren.
Release date is the 13th, available to the public on the 15th.
There you have it, Bill.
That's it.
Bill.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything, but the first time I ever heard that was from Lauren. But but I did hear it from other sources too.
Lauren, will you be considering purchase that drone to review it and take a look at it?
Well, I will be doing a review on it. Am I going to purchase it? It all depends on how my review goes, because I'm actually reviewing it for the company I consult for, so that they can kind of decide how many to bring in. So
now, for people up in Canada, the 250 gram or less drone is still an important item to have, correct?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And especially one with the specs. This has it's 3/4 of the way to a 1-inch sensor, so you get that better camera on a 249 gram drone, and
there again it weighs a little more, but we'll
if that thing lives up to or even close to lives up to the promise, those things are going to go like hotcakes.
Especially in Canada, huh?
Hey, Lauren, so that brings me up to another question. So the outfit that you consult for, will they offer repair services in Calgary for people to buy it from them?
Yes.
See, that makes sense. And so they'll probably stock spares and so forth. The problem that most people have had here in the U.S., and I saw a comment earlier in the chat, for a while Hubsan had a repair location in California. To my knowledge, that's not there anymore. They don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So I know of no other place to get a Hubsan drone repaired other than, I don't even know if they'll let you ship it back to their home base in Shenzhen. I don't know. But that to me is something that they have to address before that drone can even come close to.
That's currently the negotiations for like with Hubsan right now is for us to become a warranty repair center. They have to guarantee us that we can get parts in a reasonable fashion, right?
Yeah.
So that's a deal breaker, for us taking that up. So,
Marcus, I have a friend, Chad Boyce. I don't think Chad in here today, but Chad ordered the original Zino 2 from Hubsan, and he received it with a bad ribbon cable. I mean, Chad waited months, Marcus, right? I mean, like 2-3 months to get this ribbon cable to repair his gimbal on his Zino 2.
Yeah. I think he ended up, somebody else loaned him one or something, but yeah, you're right. It was a long time. And when I first ordered the Zino 2, because we started hearing about people having trouble with those cables, I ordered one right away from AliExpress just to have it for a spare. But I mean, that's just something that they would need to address. I mean, like I said, I found out the hard way with that Fimi Mini. You're just, it's just a lead weight right now because it's not, it's not repairable as is. So what are you going to do? I mean, they offered for me to send it back to China, but you're going to have as much money involved in that as buying another drone. So, or close to it.
I'll be back in a minute.
Okay.
While Lauren's taking a little break here, I guess we'll move on to like kind of the story three. We touched about this last week a little bit. We joked around about it, but the Autel EVO 2 prices are still low. $11.99 for the EVO 2 Pro, just the base kit, drone, controller, battery, and the 8K version, which has a smaller sensor, is still $9.99. So a lot of speculation online and the forums and so on about why this big price drop from Autel. People speculate they're doing this in advance of the Mavic 3 showing up. That's one of the speculations. Another speculation, they have a new product coming out soon. And this is from the resellers doing this because they know new stuff's on the way from either Autel or DJI, and they want to clear some inventory up. Do you have any thoughts on why this price drop is continuing?
Well, or they just could be looking at it as an opportunity to get some sales because what they know is the kind of the premier prosumer drone, the Mavic 2 Pro, is almost 3 years old. So, I kind of wonder if they're not just taking the opportunity to promote their product.
Bill Thomas mentions maybe it's not selling. DeMarco says he thinks it's the Mavic 3 connection. So this may who knows? Maybe this is the new price point for those drones. And another, we didn't mention this. It may be in reaction to the Air 2S. Now they're more correctly to compete with the Air 2S, even though it seems like they're a cut above the Air 2S in many ways. They have a variable aperture. They have better battery life and all, but really, I mean, it's probably they're looking at the same customers.
Ron, you don't know how tempting it is. that is a really good price.
And it would be real tempting if they sold a bundle with that super duper smart controller.
Yeah. Would that be something? Yeah, that sounds like
you may never fly anything else for a while. How you get that gigantic 2,000 nit smart controller out there.
Yeah, that sounds like an interesting product. No question about it.
Oh, Lauren's back.
And I got one thing to add about the price drop is that's not really unusual. Like even DJI does the price drops once they recovered their R&D costs.
Correct. Yeah, it's not unusual at all for a company to drop a price on a product once it's been out a year or better. So
yeah, basically once it's paid for itself, the rest is kind of gravy for them, right? So they can afford to charge less. So that's a pretty common thing in the industry.
Yeah, standard. Like the Spark. The Spark, before it was end of life, the price on it had come down quite a bit.
Yeah.
So.
Although the price on the Spark has gone back up now. I see they're selling refurbs on Amazon for, gosh, like $550 or something
Collector's
like that.
Edition.
Yeah.
Laura, is there any possibility we'll ever see a Spark 2 down the road at some point?
Not likely. Not likely at all.
I'm just asking because that's a beloved drone by many people, Lauren.
Yeah, it's basically the minis have taken that niche, and as far as I'm concerned, the Mini 2 is much more capable than the Spark.
In every way except the little Spark was a tank. The little Spark was built like a tank.
That too. There's a lot of guys flew those into a lot of trees and not had any damage. So
yeah.
That wouldn't happen with the Mini, and that definitely wouldn't happen with Marcus's little Fimi Mini.
Yeah, no,
you'd tree with that baby, huh? You'd be getting the super glue out.
Made out of eggshells. Yeah.
Actually, with the Spark, you fly that into a tree. It's actually very expensive. Do you know the price of wood nowadays?
Yeah, that's true. I was going to give you a hard time as a Canadian, Lauren. You guys are just making bank off the U.S. right now.
Hey, we're paying the same price up here. Don't.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
And Lauren, all those renovations you're doing, is wood involved in any of those renovations?
There is some, but
I was thinking about repairing one of my gates on my fence. $6 for each slat on the fence. $6.
Oh boy!
Holy cow!
There goes that new Corvette, Marcus.
No, well, no, you got to have priorities. Come on, the fence can slow down. I don't care. The Corvette, that's different.
You have seen that that joke on Facebook, haven't you? About guy wants to swap a sheet of plywood for a.
That was a good one. Yeah, that was great.
Swap a sheet of plywood for a low mileage Corvette, and he says, "Don't try and lowball me. I know what I got."
Yeah, I know what I got. That was so funny. Yeah.
Pretty good.
No, I was actually going to replace my fence this year, but when I found out the price of that, forget it.
I'll
wait
no
till
way.
the price comes down.
Yeah. I wonder if vinyl fences are cheaper.
Yeah, I have a vinyl fence, so I'm good.
Yeah. Okay.
Anybody want to buy
drones, Ron?
Yeah, we're going to lose all our viewers talking about fences and the price of wood in worldwide. Let's talk about a drone that we act like it's old hat, but it's not. It's only been out a month or so. What's new with the DJI Air 2S drone? I assume you haven't, Lauren. Have you been flying it much?
I tested one. Did I keep it? No. I realistically, I do own an Air 2, and for me, it just wasn't worth it going to the 2S. There was the new firmware update, right? That update, I think that was for the Air 2S only, because I haven't had an update. Because I think I'm still running a newer version, but I'm not sure.
Well, I can say this, Lauren, that Air 2S is the most capable, best drone I have ever owned, period, end of report. And I mean, I'm a big fan of the Skydio drone, but I would take the Air 2S even over that Skydio, even though it doesn't have quite the same tracking ability. It is a much more capable, well-rounded drone. And we were talking about OcuSync 3 before the show. On and on. There's a million little details of that drone you can talk about that is just simply superb at. The flight controls, it's just nobody does flight controls like DJI. It's just amazing.
Do you think the flight controls are better than the first Air 2?
Oh, very similar, Ron. No.
Similar.
I would say about the same, but that's a big compliment because
Right.
The Air 2 was
Right.
fantastic.
But basically, everybody's saying that the Air 2S pretty much is the equivalent of the Mavic 2 Pro.
Right.
We've had some of the big name YouTubers that have said, "Oh, I've sold my Mavic 2 Pro because the Air 2S the Air 2S is just as good."
Yeah, Billy Kyle was one of the first guys, I think, to really promote that.
And Original Dobo already did. He actually
Right.
he didn't just say it. He did sell his Mavic 2 Pro to State 808, the guy in Hawaii that does the Autel things. He actually has it. He's floated already. So Ken really did. Ken backed up his what he said.
Yeah.
Even though the shipping company mangled the heck out of the box, but
Yeah.
But that being said, why? I'm going to play brain teaser here a little bit. Why did they come up with such a high spec on the Air 2S?
Because the Mavic 3, and we don't even know, they may not even call it the Mavic 3 for all we know, whatever it is, that next level drone, it's going to be placed another level above. And I'm just guessing, I don't know anything, but I'm willing to bet that it's probably kind of someplace in between the niche that the Inspire 2 used to be at and the Mavic 2 Pro. In other words, elevated just enough that it is truly a drone that will appeal to the prosumers and the professionals.
Did you see Lon's comment, Marcus, in the chat?
Yeah, and you know what, Lon? I think you're spot on. In fact, everything I've read or heard, you're absolutely spot on. Yeah.
Yeah. And I tend to agree with that as well. The camera, it's a very close second. but it is still just not the same. It does not have the Hasselblad color science in it, and it doesn't have the adjustable aperture. And like for me as a photographer, I love being able to play with that aperture. So, but that being said, anybody want to buy a Mavic 2 Pro?
Yeah, you know what? Let me say this, Lauren. When I 2.5 years ago or whatever it was, or almost 3 years now, when I bought my Mavic 2 Zoom, I wish I would have ponied up for the Pro at that time, because I've seen some of the things that like you and Ron have done with it. Even though I really like the Zoom, I love the Zoom, but I think the Pro would have definitely been a probably a more reasonable thing to do.
I kind of agree with Lauren. Somebody asked me in a like a private chat, and I said that I'm not ready to get rid of my Mavic 2 Pro yet. As good as the Air 2S is, I don't say a bad word about it, but I still think overall, when I need that shot, I still would rather have my Mavic 2 Pro out with me.
But you guys are photographers, and I totally get that. Why that aperture is so important as a photographer. I get that.
Yeah. Well, even in videography, like when you're trying to, hold as close as possible to the 180 rule, right? You can sit there and put on your ND filters, right? But if you need to tweak it just that little bit extra, you've got your aperture to do it with, right? And a lot of people forget that, or you're great going in this direction, but if you turn around, go 180 degrees, well, all of a sudden your frame rate changes.
And you don't want to bring it down and put a different ND filter on.
Right. So
yeah, no, that makes total sense.
You could close that aperture down as needed, just like Lauren says. I mean that is, in fact, Lauren, ND filters aren't as big as a concern when you have a variable aperture.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, they're still important, but they're not as big as a concern. I mean, heck, I've said this to a lot of people that don't even understand the whole, getting the shutter speed right. I said most of these, like the Mini, say the Air 2, the first ones, if you just put on the proper ND filter, the drone's smart enough to set the shutter for most part pretty correctly if you have the right ND filter on there.
Yeah. Does anybody else use variable ND filters?
I have on my real cameras, but not on a drone yet.
Okay. Yeah.
Have you used them on a drone?
Yeah.
Do you like
Lon
them?
is talking about it right now. Lon is in the chat talking about it.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he is.
Yeah,
I agree with you, Lon. Buying the variable NDs, and because that being said, you've got a couple of stops that you can adjust with that variable ND, and rather than having to change the whole filter, like you buy a set of 2, and that's all you need, 2, because they've got a range that you basically, what you can't make up for in your ND, you make up for in your aperture. So
right. Hey, Lauren, there's been rumors out that the Mavic 3 will have built-in ND filters, and you'll be able to change them, just through the app or the controller. They'll change your ND filter. Maybe it'll be a virtual ND filter, but in other words, you won't need a physical ND filter to put in front of your drone anymore. It'll be built right into the camera mechanism or the drone itself. Have you heard any such talk?
Nothing. And from an engineering standpoint, I can't see that being possible. If they put some form of variable ND filter as part of the camera, the extra weight that would add to be able to control that, realistically, can't see it. But.
You know what an engineer once told me, Lauren, one time? He said, with enough time and enough money, anything's possible in engineering.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hey, Ray Kelly's talking the Mavic 3 coming on November 3rd.
No, that's not right. It'll be before that.
He got it from a great source.
Yeah. But no, it'll be before that. That being said, don't get too excited, guys, because as Michael Wright even pointed out, that this is going to be more of a real high-end prosumer drone. It is not going to be cheap, and it's not for the average guy. You've got to have a real use case in order to consider buying it, because US, I think you probably start about 2,500, which
A little sticker shock there, Lauren.
What's that?
A little sticker shock then.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I guess this won't be like what do you call an impulse buy, Lauren?
No, you like I say, you've got to have a use case for it. Like myself, am I going to get one? Oh, in a heartbeat. That's why that's why I asked if anybody wants to buy my Mavic 2 Pro. I'm going to buy it in a heartbeat because I can use a drone like that. You know.
Hey, Ron, not an impulse buy. Speak for yourself.
Would the buy button may be a little tougher to hit, huh?
Yeah.
It would definitely give you pause.
Fly Zone says it'll be close to 3,000. Yeah. By the time you kit it out with a Firmware package and a few goodies, you're going to be between 3,000 and 3,500.
Well, I'll have to sell my Fimi Mini to raise some cash, Marcus.
There you go. There you go, Ron. I hear you.
Hey, speaking about ND filters, I've got good news. Even if you buy them for free, website or Amazon, they're advertising that their ND filters for the Air 2S will be shipping very soon.
Funny you mentioned that. They sent me an email, Ron. I can say they will be available soon.
So that's good news because a lot of us did not order the Firmware kit for the Air 2S because we already had the Air 2 and had all the multi-chargers and a lot of the bells and whistles, the case. So we have no ND filters right now, and we don't have a variable aperture. So our videos our share looks bad in our videos right now.
Hey, well, let me throw this at both you and Lauren, Ron. And not from a photography perspective, but from a video perspective, which is what I would think, I believe the majority of people do with their camera drones is take video. The ND filter, not the polarizer, but the neutral density filter is all about motion blur, right? Is there any other use case for that filter other than to achieve that slower shutter speed to get that motion blur?
For video?
For video. Yeah, I'm not talking about photography.
That's kind of one of the key things is not necessarily for if you have too fast a shutter rate, your picture can end up being too crisp and it doesn't look natural, right? Slowing down that shutter speed, like if you're at 1250 on your aperture or on your shutter speed, right? That's going to look like such a digital picture, like digital video, as opposed to, say, a movie you watch on TV, right? Where the image is a little bit softer, you know?
Right. But here's the point that I was going to make. And I appreciate you're exactly right. That's exactly what I thought, Lauren. Yeah. But I hear people all the time. In fact, I'll get comments on my videos when I'm flying over the Snake River Canyon, and they'll say, well, if you just would have used an ND filter, those colors would have looked nicer, and this and that. Has no effect at all on colors or anything like that, or contrast.
Unless they mean you use one of the combination ND filters and polarizer filters put together.
Yeah, no, I get that with a polarizer, Ron, absolutely. But people all the time tell, well, you should have used an ND8 because that would have made those colors pop. And no, and
not just a plain ND8.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll give you an example. What's the great waterfalls in Oregon I went to, Marcus?
Multnomah Falls.
Multnomah Falls. So I didn't do video there. It's not the drone, but it's just about ND filters. So I went up, set my real camera up or whatever. Now, if I had just shot it without an ND filter, I would have saw every bit of water, like in perfect sharpness and whatever, and that's not how I want it, because that's not the human eye sees. So I had to put a real powerful ND filter in there to get that proper blur of what the water looked like coming down over the side of the falls, to how the naked eye sees it or whatever. So again, I had to use a real, I forget what ND, like it was many times. It wasn't just 1 or 2 times. It was like 10 times ND filter to get that perfect blur. And the same thing on the drone. If I've been flying a drone at the falls there, I'd have had to have many times, not just 1 or 2, many times ND filter to get the proper, blur on that waterfall.
Right. That's absolutely how I understand.
But again, it wouldn't affect the color at all unless I would have put on a combination polarizer and ND filter. But I wouldn't need a polarizer at the falls because it was in a shaded area, so I wouldn't have the sun taking the color away like you would on the desert or an open environment. Laura, are you a fan at all of the combination ND polarizer filters? Or are you just like straight ND filters?
I buy the combination all the time.
Oh, so you're a fan of them?
Yeah, because the big thing is that without it, if you put it in phase, then you've got your combination. If you take it out of phase, then you're just an ND, right? Mm-hmm. So that instead of buying two sets of filters, sorry, I'm always buy both myself.
You buy the combination.
Always, yeah.
Yeah. Now, what was I going to say? Are you a Polar Pro man or a Freewell man?
Polar Pro.
Polar Pro.
Yeah. Glass is just a little bit better on those, but unfortunately, you're going to pay a lot more.
Right.
So.
And Freewell is more. They make a lot more products. They're more readily available and easy, quicker to get them out too. But yeah, when I've had some Polar Pros for drones, and I've really enjoyed the Polar Pros. So,
well, I better stick up for Freewell then.
Yeah, well, again, not the Freewell at all. Freewell filters are fine filters.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm just looking for something here. I want to show Marcus. It's part of a photography course that I teach. Actually, drone photography, but
I see Lana, a good comment here. Lana, Power Pro Mafia, Freewell thinks that.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
There we go.
Well, but Marcus, it's good we have choice. It's good we have 2 good choices.
Yeah, well, no, absolutely, and of course that's what we're hoping for with regard to a company like Hubsan. Let's hope that they really have cranked up their game, and we see an all new Hubsan that can go toe to toe with the likes of DJI. That'd be wonderful.
I think Lauren found a screen here. I'm going to pop it up here, add to the stream. Here we go, folks.
So,
get rid of the comment here.
Basically, you've got high ND filter here, so that really slows down your shutter speed, and you get your water flow, right?
Beautiful. Yep. There you go. There's no ND filter.
No ND filter, and you see how that is just like crisp, clear, and stuff like that.
It's like a freeze frame.
Yeah. This was pretty extreme because that was down to about 1.3 seconds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But like I say, I put these. This is one of the slides that I use for the course that I teach, and it's to demonstrate why you use ND filters to slow it down, right? For the effect that you want to get, right? So yeah, and
that's motion blur.
Well, actually, no. This is talking about aperture for getting your depth of field, right?
What aperture did you shoot that at?
Oh, good question. But And then
Oh, there's a triangle.
The camera triangle, right? And if you're going to be into photography and actually even videography, it's very important to know this triangle here.
And that little pyramid triangle has been around since I was a teenager.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that's.
If you want to join Lauren's photography course, just send a bag load of money to DroneNation and we'll make you a member.
Said $19.95 plus shipping and handling.
DroneLauren.com.
And we'll make sure Lauren gets 1% of the profits.
Yeah.
That's about how it works too. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got Adrian Mateo joined us in here. Of course, Ray Kelly's back in beautiful New York, and now they were giving him a hard time on one of his videos. They called Rodney Bell was looking for, called the elusive snowbird. We got placed it here. I don't know where Ken is. Ken's from Florida, but he's usually on the road. Of course, Lauren's in here with us. Fly Zone drones from Chicago. Coast Drones out there in beautiful Washington. I'm not gonna scroll all the way. Anybody have any questions or comments before we wrap things up around here for the night? Oh, Matt's saying Ken's in Chicago right now.
Well, let's.
Mark, do you have anything else you want to bring up?
Well, I just I'm hoping that we all get some good weather so we can get out and fly here. We've got a lot of exciting drones to fly, from the Air 2S, which is a pretty recent product. There's a ton.
We're talking about it like it's an old product, but it's basically it's been out for what, a month?
Yeah, I've barely scratched the surface with it myself, and then obviously with these mini drones that are hitting, and I'm bummed out that I had a lot more I wanted to do with that Fimi Mini, so I'm sad.
You got another one on the way though.
I do. Jet Martin was really saved the day by allowing me to take over his order. So that's good. So whenever that ships from B&H, I'll get another one. And what'll be interesting, Ron, is to be able to put minis side by side. So, and by the way, I include with that the original DJI Mavic Mini because it's the guy that started it all. And, I think Lauren will agree. We were all just gobsmacked by how good the video looked on it, even at 2.7K, etc. So these other drones have to live up to that as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Hey, look, Lauren, what do you think of the whole 250 gram kind of drone thing that's happening now? Now everybody's copying me. Are we going to a more 250 gram drone underworld or whatever? Is that going to be the dominant drone going forward in the consumer market?
It will, and I hate to tell you, when you guys in the States start catching up with the rest of the world, because your guys' drone laws are so archaic, for example, I like what we have, and what we have is now being adopted by the UK as well as the EU. They're basically going the same thing. And your license doesn't define what you do; it defines where you can do it, right? And for us, like a sub 250, you don't have to register it. You don't have to. You don't have to have a license for it. Legally, I can fly my Mavic Mini. I can fly it right at an airport over top of a frickin' runway, right? Provided that runway is not in use. But we've got the one rule, and Marcus has said it many times, is that the only rule we have for a sub 250 up here is you don't endanger aircraft or people, right? Now, flying over runway, if it's active, well, that's kind of dumb, but yeah.
So, Lauren, just to be clear on that, with a mini drone, does the 400-foot rule doesn't even apply, right? In other words,
nope.
You legally could go above that.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. The only thing that covers that is, like I say, 900.06. It's The only thing that's covered in there is that don't endanger aircraft or people. So,
by golly, Lauren, when they open that gate, I'm going to be making a trip up to Canada, and we're going to go flying.
actually, it's funny. I got an email today from Transport Canada, and it was kind of an update on foreigners flying in Canada, right?
Wow.
That unless you get an SFOC, Special Flight Operating Certificate, but if you're going to fly a drone over 250 grams, you have to get the SFOC. If you're going to fly under the 250 grams, come on down. You're the next contestant, you know.
Mark can bring all sorts of mini drones.
The
Hubsan, the Fimi, the DJIs.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, we got an update too. Leonard Oglesby said that PGY Tech is also releasing ND filters for the Air 2S. So that's another market. And I want to update Scott Nadeau. Scott Nadeau has now returned from sunny Florida to back home in Minnesota. But of course, look, he got frost warnings already on his first night back. So he probably wants to turn around and go back to sunny Florida again. Lauren, do you still have any frost warnings up in Calgary?
No.
Okay.
Actually, today we had fog warnings, and that was about as close. Yeah, we're not below freezing anymore at nighttime. So,
Lauren, did they have to turn on the light on the lighthouse?
pretty much, yeah. Sometime when we got more time, I'll tell you that lighthouse joke.
Okay.
Maybe you can give it to what's his name over to Terry on the Drone Seekers to tell
the Drone Seekers, yeah, Terry, yeah, he'd love that. Yeah.
Welcome in Chris Wedgeworth. Greg Pittman's in here with us. Of course, Scott's with us in Chile, Minnesota. Hey, Marcus, before we get out of here, can we tell people about a new show we're debuting on the DroneNation network?
Yeah. The Drone Talks. Absolutely.
The Drone Talks.
Yeah. So this is Ron actually came up with this, and I think it's a great idea. So on the DroneNation YouTube channel, and we have no timeline on how often we'll release them, but we are going to have drone-related talks on there. In other words, just on various subjects, and it may or may not even be Ron and I talking about it. We may invite, if say somebody like Lauren had a subject that he wanted to put together a video for, that could be on that Drone Talks show. So yeah, any more to add to that, Ron?
No, I mean, what you say is my idea, but really we actually did Drone Talks just between us two, on various chat platforms, but they just weren't live. So we said, well, why not why not record some of these? And we're not really looking to do another live stream. It's plenty of live streams out there. We don't want to interrupt with somebody else's live stream on other nights. So we just record these and put them out. And they're not really meant to be a live stream, but it's just the stuff we would talk about between ourselves, is we're just going to record it now. If it may be interesting to somebody, maybe it's not. Give us feedback. Well, I've got good feedback already, the one we just did, so we'll keep making more. If we don't get good feedback, maybe we'll stop it. But listen, Manny Navarro has a question. Maybe Laura can help him with it. He says, "Good evening, guys. I have a Mavic 2 Pro with a triple tech tablet, and a lot of guys really like this triple tech tablet, especially a lot of Evo guys. Is it possible to connect the original DJI goggles so a bystander can see my camera's first-person view?"
That is nothing that I have no clue.
I'm familiar with the triple tech tab. You know who we need in here? He's not here tonight.
Lon Bennett.
Lon is here, and I bet you Hot Rod Daytona could answer this.
He probably could. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And to be honest, I know nothing about goggles because I got absolutely no interest in FPV. So
yeah.
Okay, here's and I don't think the guy's really doing it for FPV. A triple tech tablet is just like having the best tablet you can have as your screen instead of your phone or whatever. Lon says the tablet doesn't matter. The goggles connect natively.
Yeah.
So was it the gentleman's name, Manny? I hope that answers your question, man, because I don't own the triple tech tablet, and I've never owned any of DJI's goggles. Laura, did you have the original DJI goggles?
No, I've never had goggles at all.
Okay.
Because, like I say, I have absolutely no interest in flying FPV.
You're a line of sight man all
Hey,
the way.
Ron,
Not necessarily, but
a good friend of the show, Johnny Drone Flyer, has a comment that I think we should talk about for a little bit. So on Wednesday night, Ron and I will both appear on the Fly for Fun show, and that is, I believe, at 5 p.m. my time, Mountain Time. So
I believe it's 7 p.m. my time.
yeah, yep. So that would be 6 Central Time and 4 p.m. Pacific.
And we'll be able to see that snowbird Ray Kelly, huh?
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
sorry, I'm still here. I'm just busy trying to charge up my strobes because I'm going flying tonight.
Yeah, smart.
Oh,
smart
what's your night flying laws in Canada, Lauren?
Pardon me?
What's your night flying regulations in Canada?
Basically, keep it in line of sight, and you must have the proper strobes.
Strobes, sure.
What's the distance we need in the U.S. market, Marcus? What's the distance to the strobe? You have to see the strobe.
Oh, is it like, it's a long ways? I think it's like
It's 3
miles,
something, right?
3 miles, I believe. Yeah.
3 statute miles.
Yeah.
But they don't have miles in Canada.
Yep. Listen, Ron, I depend on Lon for those kind of details.
You see, I don't have much interest in flying nights, so I didn't have to remember that some test.
Yeah, and Johnny Drone Flyer, he's saying it, and so's place it here.
Test
so.
questions, yeah.
Test
I have to repeat
right.
that for the test because I don't plan on doing any night flying.
Hey, but we both got it right, Rod. We both said 3 miles. So
and Drone 863 says 3 miles.
Yeah.
And, Sam Burns says nautical miles. I said statute miles. Hey, they all sound good, right?
yeah, they sound good. Yeah. So yeah.
So what are you going to fly tonight, Lauren?
Mavic 2 Pro.
Oh, the old favorite, huh?
Yep.
Do you have all this? Do you have what kind of lights do you use for it, Lauren?
I use the Firehouse ones.
The Firehouse, okay.
Yeah.
A lot of people love the Firehouse lights. A lot of people in Florida at the drone meetup and the drone meetup related events had the Firehouse lights on.
Yeah.
Drone 863 is saying the same thing, Ron.
Yep, fire strobes are the best use. I have the what's the loom? I have the loom cubes, and I've never. Well, I have that other. I have an off-brand one I got in Amazon too, but nobody else knows about that one. Here, Ray Kelly says it's gonna be awesome. Fly for Fun show this week. Please tune in.
Looking forward to it, Captain Ray.
We'll be there with bells on.
Yep.
Blind Neil says you learned metric in school. You just forgot. Well, guess what, Blind Neil? They at one point when I was in middle school, they said you're gonna learn metric. We're gonna convert to the metric system. Well, that only lasted about 2 years. They said forget all that metric stuff. We're going back to imperial. So in my days they didn't stick with it for very long.
I wish they had. We'd be kind of just on the same page with the rest of the world. But
well, I got this. I know a guy from England. He says. They know metric, they know imperial, and it's some other system they had just in England. So he knows 3 different measurement systems.
Wow.
So yeah, it's crazy.
It's funny. I deal with metric, but I grew up with imperial.
Imperial.
So
I wish I would have stayed with metric when I was in school age, but they gave up on it, so I didn't really learn or retain much.
When you're flying a drone, you've got to do imperial because that's worldwide standard,
And as far as I know, all my drones have the choice between imperial or metric.
Yeah, but you should always, just a little tip, always make sure you have it set on imperial because of the fact that like if you're filling out airspace clearance, you've got to do it in imperial anyways.
You're spoiling all of my videos, Lauren. I've been doing them all in metric all this time.
Hey, one quick thing before we get out of here, I want to throw out Lauren. this story just doesn't go away. Everybody with the Air 2S, on their left-hand side of the screen, they get those altitude warnings. And on DroneNation, I think it was Matt Condoff had some real funny things where it told him it wouldn't fly over a certain thing, and then it told him it wouldn't fly over 0. And the problems never seem to end with these altitude warnings that you're getting only from the Air 2S, not the regular Air 2 or any other DJI drone.
Yeah, that's just a glitch. That'll get fixed in the future because.
You think that's all software? Or is that hardware related at all?
It'll be firmware.
Okay.
Yeah. The basically getting an altitude warning. I get those all the time in a lot of places I fly because above you've got controlled airspace, so they'll limit it to 150 feet or whatever, right? Yeah. And that's what that warning should be, not 0 feet.
Well, you're exactly right at 150 feet, Lauren, because I was flying at the location I always fly at, which is Class G up the 400, and I did not notice it, but I connected to a Wi-Fi network that had no internet behind it, so I did not realize this. At one point, my drone site could only fly up to 150 feet and only a short distance away. I couldn't figure out what was going on because I knew I was in the Class G. I knew there was no flight warnings. And then I finally figured out that when the drone's not connected to a live internet, whether it's your phone's 4 or 5G or another internet, it immediately locks itself down. That, at least the Air 2S, not any other drone.
Yeah.
And that could be a glitch too. That may be fixed already, but that day, if I didn't have internet, it treated me like I was in a geo zone.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that's good to know that that isn't something they're putting in there. It's just a glitch that will be fixed in an upcoming firmware if it's not already. But I don't think it's already fixed. I think Matt just posted a story like yesterday. So it just perplexes people that because they don't know what it is, they haven't seen it before.
Yeah. Anyways, I got to run, guys.
Lauren, thanks for coming back and joining us. And I know you're going to be taking a couple of weeks off while you're doing your renovations. So, we hope it all goes well for you. And we hope you come back to the show, after you got everything, put back together and looking good.
Yeah, well, always enjoyable chatting with you gentlemen, and as well as everybody in the audience. I'll see you guys before I start the rentals. That's not for another week. So chances are we'll see each other on another show. So,
all right, Lauren, have a good evening. Take care.
Have a good one.
All right, folks. Lauren had to go. I want to thank Lauren for dropping in, and Marcus, I think, had to go. Maybe Sarah needed something. So thanks again, everybody, for coming in the chat tonight. I know we didn't, maybe we didn't have the most information-filled show here, but again, nothing really new happened this week, so kind of rehashing a lot of the old things here. But I'm glad we got a good talk and learned a few things tonight. And I'm still waiting for my Fimi Mini to show up. It was supposed to show up today, according to one source, but did not show. So hopefully tomorrow, the next day, or whatever, it'll get here when it gets here. And I have pre-ordered the Hubsan Zino Mini Pro, but I got no ship times or anything like that on that. So we'll see about that. And of course, we're still waiting for more news on the DJI Mavic 3 drone, as Lauren's predicting in the summer, and hopefully he's right. And we know it's going to be a higher price point, but so be ready for that. It may not be the drone for everybody. The Mavic, not the Mavic, the DJI Air 2S may be all the drone, a lot of us need. So, I'm not going to automatically buy the Mavic 3. I'm really going to look it over and figure, do I really need, this and for the kind of work I do, or I don't really do work, but kind of messing around I do. So, anyways, I'm going to wrap the show up tonight. Let's not forget a few things. Bill the Drone Reviewer will be on tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Philly and Ron show tomorrow at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I will not be on tomorrow night because I'm going to be on the road all day tomorrow, and I will not make it back on time. But I think it's Mike's birthday show tomorrow, so make sure you show up, bring some cake and what have you. And Coast to Coast Drones on Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to do our Part 107 show. It's lesson, I forget what lesson it is. I think it's lesson 5. We're gonna, I'll bone up one before the show starts. And Mike Wright's going to be joining us to help out. And don't forget the Fly for Fun guys at 7 p.m. with their special guests that night. And don't forget Lori the Grumpy Vlogger before he comes on Mondays at 8 p.m. right before this show. And next Monday night, Sean Oz from the World of Oz will be on right after us at 10. He's on the first and third Mondays of the month. And the Fly Zone guys, I believe they're 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time out of Chicago on Friday night, 8 or 9, one or the other. And Arco Drone Solutions, catch him Saturdays at 7. And International Drone Seekers, Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Marcus and a big cast of European drone stars. And I think our good friend Sean Matthews has another live streaming show on what night is it? Sunday nights, Marcus?
I think he's doing it on Mondays. It would be in the last I saw it was like in the afternoon.
Afternoon this time or whatever. So and of course you got the Ken Herron show Thursdays at 8 p.m. and Ken Original Dobo's on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. So just, support what shows you can. I know you can't watch them all. You can't watch them all every week, but you can make sure you support, all the people out there that are, they're doing their best out in the community. So, Marcus, I've talked a whole bunch. I'm going to let you wrap it up, and we're going to say goodnight for the evening.
Okay, sounds good. What happened to Lauren? What did you do with Lauren, Ron?
Well, Lauren was going out on that night flight. His 3 nautical miles and all that.
That's right. That's right. Hey, so I did want to mention to everybody in the chat, you all are likely already subscribed to the DroneNation YouTube channel, but if you're not, please subscribe. We'd like to get that thing up. If we can get it up above 1,000 subs, it adds a lot of features to that we can begin using. So we would love to do that. If there's anybody else that's interested in drones, and again, like Ron said earlier, we're going to, both of us, be doing some drone talks on there occasionally, and as individuals adding.
We're going to do our part to make the content a little bit more interesting or more. We're going to put more content on the channel going forward.
Add some exclusive content on there. So, that in any case, that would help us out. But other than that, Ron, about all I have, guys, is get out and fly your drones, have fun. We're kind of in the middle of an exciting time right now with whatever that Mavic 3 is that's on the horizon, and then the slew of mini drones. Wouldn't it be fun to see an Autel Mini? That'd be just a riot, I think.
That rumor's still out there.
Yeah. And so it's a fun time to be in the hobby. So, but get out there and fly what you got and have fun.
Yeah. Good night.
Good night.